Good morning. Good morning. Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands, AncestryLands.com. Folks, I just want to confess something. I failed my family in this business. I failed my family, my children, and my wife in this business and the way I do business, because when you think you're teaching your children by example, when you think that you're leading by example, sometimes the example's not enough. In this business that I've done, in this land business, I have shown my children how to hire employees, how to manage employees, how to reward employees, and how to look at things from a business structure. Now, again, they're children, they're 10 and 8, but some concepts should be fundamental. My wife decided to, this has a little prefix story. If you remember back in July, early July, 4th of July, my children, we all went to this parade. And during this parade, we noticed these young children with their, that was a close one, with their grandfather selling lemonade. It was an extremely hot day. They had a lot of lemonade, and it was a simple thing that they did. And it was literally, they sold out. I think they sold the cups. It was just a cup of lemonade. They had a cooler, some ice, and they had a couple, it was already the pre-made lemonade, like Country Time or whatever else, in the canister, the bottles. So they were just pouring cups. So if you think about it, if it costs $2-3 to get the lemonade cartons, if they sold about, every time they sell 5 or 6 cups, which I think maybe you'll get 12 cups out of that one bottle, you would be, doubling, tripling, quadrupling your profit margin from your initial buy, unaccounting for ice, obviously. And if a person wanted it with ice, so you have to buy ice, and then scoop ice and then the cups. So you're looking at probably you're making at least double your money. And as my kids watched that, I showed them that, you all came here to enjoy yourself and be consumers, while these two young children with their grandfather, 2 boys, Caucasian boys, where they're with their grandfather, looked like their grandfather, and they were out making a business opportunity. And my children watched, and I showed them, and I said, and those are your competitors, or those are your bosses. And it was to show them that they're missing out on opportunity everywhere. Now, after that conversation, fast forward to now, August, and my wife and children decided to do a book sale. My children read tons of books. They read about 50 pages every day. The baby and I read books every night. And he actually sits to attention. Yes, your children will read if you spend time reading with them, if you make story time exciting. And I will have a book. I'll do a video of me reading the Chicka Chicka Boom Boom book to my son. It's very exciting. So my wife decided with my kids, they would do a book sale, and they would also do a lemonade sale. Now, the weather has not been as hot as it's been, about 80 degrees. I think it got up close to 90, but the humidity's been down. So while you might think it's not on a hotter day, that would be a better time to do it. People are not out as much on a hotter day. So on a warmer day like yesterday, it was a very opportune time to test your market. And my wife, some excellent things they did. They went out and they informed people. They put a sign on her car. Now, this is just a lemonade stand, so you can see just right across, when you're driving down the street. And our street does get a lot of through traffic. She went and told some of the neighbors, as we live in an apartment complex. So there's about 600 clients, probably about 120 of them in our immediate vicinity that could be notified or could observe this lemonade stand happening. And I was in full support because it was a great business opportunity. And I see my kids and my wife looking at my example, the way I pointed things out. And I also have my business as a backup example, as my children are my employees, not my wife. And they can see how I'm running and operating a business. Now, I'm at work doing my nursing thing, right? Doing the benefit covering for my family. And where I thought this was going to be somewhat of a, like I saw with the two children and their grandfather, The grandfather walked around and made sure the children had the financial exchange was done by the children with his observation. Now, my wife, who I've warned many a times to stop treating your 10 and 8-year-old as if they're adults or teenagers, she decides that she's going to leave the kids out there to independently run their book operation and give them pre-instructions the day before, such as don't employ your friends, do this independent of your friends, and make sure you don't pay them because my children have a lot of friends. And in their friend circle, they are the more wealthier friends. They have more access to capital, more access to money, because their father does employ some of their parents to do things within this business. So, and I'm excited to see how their business day goes, because sometimes it's very important to see your children operate independent of you. If they're doing this, and it also gives me a gauge of my wife's executive vice leadership when I'm not around, because if anything does happen to me, my wife will have the sole responsibility of leading my children if I'm not around in this world, or I'm unconscious, or I have a stroke, I have a heart attack, I'm infirm to some degree that I cannot, be physically raising or cognitively raising my children. This can happen to any of us. Any of us can be, put down. Life could come for us all. So you have to really rely on the fact that your spouse, your mate, your husband, your boyfriend, your baby daddy, whomever that may be, is going to administrate and carry on that legacy. And they're going to do it with the successful outcome of your children as a result. A lot of people think that just having children, just raising children to adulthood is a win, and it is fucking not. Raising your children to get a college degree does not mean that you've raised successful children because they have a job. Raising your children, I'm gonna put me on so you can see me out here. Raising your children just into adulthood so you don't have to raise them anymore is not the indicator of you raising successful people in society. Okay, I guess you're just gonna go fuck the one car per lane merge-in rule, but okay. Let's see who this is up in front of me. So back to the lemonade stand, I'm looking to see how things went. The first thing happens, I come home, I see my children, I'm like, hey, how you guys doing? They're on the other side of the building, they race over, and I'm like, that's a little interesting. They're coming to greet me, no problem there. I love when my children greet me. My children race to greet me, which is a great feeling. Money is not an indicator of wealth. What indicator of wealth is when you have things of non-tangible, they're intangible. My children race to see me and give me a hug when I come through the door. That is true wealth. But that is only there because there's an environment of love, care, support, and discipline. Discipline. So they're racing over to come see me, and I'm like, that's a little interesting, because who's manning the product? Who's manning your inventory? Where, if you're both here, then the lemonade stand must be done, in my opinion. And first, a little sign there, undisciplined, but still, your kids are racing to see you. They're emotional. They're children. They're going to do stuff like that. So I'm like, man, I hug them. I'm like, man, who's watching the stuff? My son's like, Penelope. I was like, well, Penelope's right behind you. That's my daughter. So somebody left, a lack of communication there, first sign. So as the kids wrap up a little bit later, we go to talk to them first. That they have to, their mother went with them to the store to buy the lemonade and buy all the things that they need. They had a cooler. We have a cooler. They'd buy the ice. So they had to pay back my wife's initial purchase, which was like $38 overall. Now I go to peek over there at the lemonade stand before it closed down. I see my children and all their friends. Their friends are all out there surrounding them. They had some books in their hand. So from my interpretation, it looks like they've sold some. To what measure, we'll find out later. So they come in. Now it's time to clean up and count, settle up. everybody's got to settle up on the debt's got to be settled up and profits got to be split. This is where the story gets more interesting. So now, let me turn you guys down a little bit. Okay. So now my children, we talk about what occurred, and my children say, oh, we when they do the money counting, they pay my wife back first. The $38 that was initially purchased to buy the lemonades. I think they bought 3 or 4 of them, cups and ice. And the children say, okay, well, we had to pay our friends. And I'm like, pay your friends? And my she's like, pay your friends? And we had just talked about this. Now, my wife had not been out the whole time, remember, at this lemonade stand, this book sale. My children have about maybe 30, 40 books out there. And they have the lemonade in coolers. So there's no supervision, adult supervision. Now, you might be of the old mindset to say, well, back in the day, okay, but that's not today. Today we live in a different world where people have digital payments that they can pay. And I told my wife, I say, hey, make sure that you use Venmo so people have a way to pay you digitally, because people are not carrying around cash. I don't carry cash. Because if somebody takes me and takes my cards, I get a card replaced easily and lock down that credit. You got to take whatever's on me to get anything of value. There's nothing. I'm not going to give you any cash to walk away with. I don't carry cash with me. And most people don't. They don't carry cash. So what we're looking at is, why did you pay your friends? Now, the good thing that they did is that we live in an apartment complex. So for them to leave and go out and go to knock on these doors and ask people if they want lemonade, they had the bright idea to employ their friends to go out and knock on the door and advertise for their business. Excellent job. Excellent job. But they promised to pay their children $2. Is 5 kids. They're 5 friends. $2 per person. That was the story. The part is, this gets thicker. That was the story. So then how I see it when I'm home, I'm listening. This is why you got to listen to your children. You got to actually spend time talking to them, because inconsistencies will show up. Now, the one thing I'm looking at is talking to my wife, and I was so pissed off. We actually got an argument over it, because I'm like, the kids need supervision when they're doing business. You should never have let the kids out there on their own without any adult supervision, because you're giving them guidelines and rules, and then you're just setting them out. If that was the case, then kids wouldn't need to go to school and have teachers in the classroom. They have teachers in the classroom. They have babysitters. Because again, kids will always deviate away from whatever you tell them. It is a natural way that kids will always not listen. Excuse me, which is why you have discipline. Discipline is to remind them that not listening, while in a parent household, has outcomes that are negative, but in life have greater outcomes that are negative. Because even if your parents don't discipline you, when you get out into a greater society, you can get fired from a job, you can get locked up and put in jail. Worse, you could get the corporal punishment. You can lose friends, business. You can lose a whole lot of things. There are many negative impacts that could come from you being undisciplined and untrustworthy in life. It will have many not only a personal, but a financial detriment to you on a greater good, on a greater whole, at a greater level. You will be impacted because of that. So my children are like, this is the initial story they tell me. They tell me that, okay, we paid our friends $10. They paid them to go knock at doors. They used the one girl in the group to be the person to speak, and the boys, the other four children are boys, and they're Indian, Eastern Indian. So my children already started their first employment of minorities. They were minority hires, which I love, and that's great. And it's not because they didn't select any Caucasian children. It's the Caucasian children are in a different area, not only at the complex, but in our area. We live in an area where we actually are the super minority, because the majority of our neighbors are Indian. Eastern India, from India. So they already hired what could be considered minority hires. Great job, kids. Great job. Love it. But again, there was no upper management supervision for new business ventures. They were just set up and left to their own devices. And what I did like is my children started using some critical thinking, because they're saying, hey, we're not getting enough traffic. Let's put our friends to work, and we're going to make a modest agreement with them. They're going to pay them $2 for just doing the job of knocking on doors and getting people to them. And they had about 10 sales from their friends' effort collectively. Now, the next question you should probably ask, if you are asking it and you're correct, how much did they sell the lemonade for? The answer is $1. So their 5 friends went out and knocked on for $2, knocked on the doors for and 4 buildings. 4 buildings probably is maybe, and then we're going to assume they knocked on every door. There's 3 levels in every building. There's probably depending on which buildings they're built differently, maybe 20, 30 doors in a building itself. We'll just roughly give that estimate. So let's say they knocked on 100 doors. They got 10 people back. And the first thing I asked them is, why did you pay your friends if your mother told you not to? And theirs was that the friends kept pressuring them. So we got the first thing that kids are going to face, which is pressure, peer pressure, from their friends. My daughter and son look at me, they kept asking us and they pestered us, which is pretty much peer pressure. Your children, even at 8 and 10, will already meet societal pressures and peer pressure from their friend group. Now I'm actually looking at my wife with the side eye. And despite what many people think, I do run my household with leadership. And it is somewhat of an iron fist. I could care if you like it or not. You're not responsible for my children. I am. You're not their parent. I am. When they do wrong in the world, people are going to look to me and my feelings as a parent to say, I didn't do a good enough job. So your critique of whether I chastise my wife or my children is irrelevant to my responsibility of raising my children for them not to rob you later on in life or take out your bloodline in life. That's my job. So you can hold your criticisms to the end. You can talk to God about that. Ask Pastor Lands for a meeting with God, and you can have your say with him, but you ain't gonna talk to me about it. I don't want to hear it. So my children did a good job in that. So they tell me, and I'm like, well, if your friends went out and did the effort, they brought you 10 clients, you got lemonade sold at $1 a lemonade cup. That's 10 lemonades, which means that you've paid your friends $10. What you promised them was actually your profit. I said, you didn't promise them commissions for sales. You didn't tell them that I'll pay you $2 depending on how many clients you bring me, or I'll pay you 50 cents per person, per customer. You didn't incentivize, you gave them a flat rate for employment, which means that if they brought you 1 or none, it was still going to be paid off the effort, the same price. This is a sales business, and you're not paying them, you're paying them too much, you're paying 20%. Well, actually, you're paying them more than 100%, 200% of your actual sale of your product. And you cannot monitor what they're doing. There's no checking on that. So I'm already incensed. I'm upset. This is akin to my kid failing school. Because I'm wondering why it's set up that we're yelling at the kids. Now my wife's yelling at the kids too, on why they didn't listen to her when I said the whole job of a parent is to supervise your children. You're not supposed to, we can as much as we can blame them, we need to blame the management that is absent, that is not watching and making sure children, not adults, children do not go astray. that they're not falling victim to peer pressure, that they're not making bad business judgments, which will continue. I'm going to tell you more about how that gets worse. This jackass and sped in front of me. Now, there's no cars in back of me. He could have just simply got in back of me, but he needed to do that tight maneuver just to get ahead. And he could, there still is no car virtually 20 to 30 feet in back of me. Now he's got to speed up. This just white Chevrolet truck here sped up and everything's coming to a full stop. So he's speeding up to get in, but he's also got to put on his brakes and stop. What an idiot here. So I'm looking at like, okay, well, you just pissed away your profits. So what did you need your friends for if you weren't going to get any money out of what they were doing? You hire people to generate extra profit for you because you don't have to go and physically go do that. Which means that if those 10 clients that bought lemonade came and didn't purchase, it would have been no different than if they had just not employed their friends to begin with, right? So my kids back it up. They come back with a backbone. Look at this guy. He almost hit somebody. Almost rear-ended somebody, not paying attention. That's why he should not be in this spot. Wow, how prophetic is that? Pastor Lands, I'm about to have my own ministries because I just prophesized right here. I'm joking. So the children now tell me that, well, the kids with that money ended up buying some lemonade. I'm like, okay. So you got them to spend, which means that you actually made some of your money back. But really, you didn't make any money back. What you did was lowered your overall expenses, which still, if you have 5 friends and they all bought a cup of lemonade or some bought a book, so say they were both $1, a book is $1 and a lemonade was $1, and everybody spent $1, then you actually only paid them, what is it? You only paid them really 50 cents for the clients they brought in if everybody brought 2 clients, right? Which seems somewhat okay, but you're still splitting 50% of your product sale because your product's for $1. So you're still giving up 50 cents on those 5 products, which is ridiculous. And I'm saying, well, when they counted up the money, they said after we paid our friends, we only have $30 in profit because we had to pay them $10. And I'm saying, well, if your friends bought product back, at the end of the day, you paid everybody $10, and then your friends went to buy lemonade or bought a book after that, then how do you still have $10? How did you still give them an even money? Something's not right. And I said, did you pay your friends $2 a piece? My son's like, yes, Dad, absolutely. My daughter, she starts looking up, which already I know a lie is about to come out. Now, my wife, she didn't ask any of these questions. She just was sold on the $10. She was sold on the first round of the explanation, not me. I got to dig deeper because I'm doing math in my head. And this is why it is important to do education. When I talked about my short about the game of the Monopoly, about how when my son was the bank or I was the bank and you start giving people money, you start giving people change, my son didn't count it. And I told him, whenever you get money, real or fake, you need to have a practice of counting it. I don't care if it's 2 $100 bills. You need to make sure you mentally look at it and count it in your head. Because if you don't, a fool and their money will soon part. Told my son that. So when I'm looking at, and I said, you all are not doing math in your head. I said, well, you all counting your money as you were making it to make sure you had the money and the count was good. Yes. And I'm asking my daughter, did you pay everybody $2? She's looking up and trying to think. And I'm like, all right, the bullshit's already starting right now, right? You got a daughter. So I said, it's either a yes or no. You should know if you did or didn't. Don't give me, well, I think, and that's what I'm saying. See, it starts early with the lying bullshit. Already it starts. And I'm like, it's a simple thing. Ask my son, Philip, also has my name. Did you only, yes, Dad, only $2. He's doubling down. Now I got to go back to my daughter and hone in. Now, I don't like lying. But the key thing is, this is a business partnership between my son and my daughter. And my daughter is already showing signs of doing something which we come to find out because she says, well, I think I paid my friends $3 or $4. See, this is accountability shit that if you don't get on top of as a father, your children or daughters will grow up to be non-accountability. They will not have accountability. So again, when men nowadays talk about women being unaccountable, I'm going to tell you it is the father's fault that they are like that. Because you as a father have to hold them down for accountability. You cannot depend on the mother to do that. You have to do it yourself. So don't look at women and say they're the problem. Men are not holding their daughters accountable when they're younger. It's the daddy's little princess bullshit that gets all the other men that we're inheriting now because you built your daughter to be a princess, and what you did was created a monster. And it doesn't have to be you didn't raise to be accountable because you were a princess. You could have been an absent father too, and now we got the same problem. Two monsters, two villain stories can come from the same place at different parts of the city. Just look at Batman and you can see that. So now she has paid some of her friends $3 or $4, and I ask her why, because they were working double the extra hard. Now, the biggest problem with this, how can you quantify their labor, their effort? I said them working extra hard is part of them getting pay. That's the promise of pay. But the biggest issue is she never told or consulted with her business partner. So she lied to her brother and never told her. Now, this is later. This conversation's happened much later. After the sale, the business was closed and they're splitting a profit. And I told her, I said, did you talk to your brother about this before you made that decision? No. She unilaterally, this is a joint venture, which means 50%. They're splitting the profits 50%. So if it's a 50-50 split, then that means that you have an equal, equitable partnership. And I've had business with people before like this where I'm supposed to get a piece of the profit and people decided to make unilateral decisions and they decided I was going to go along with it. The hell I was. And I told my daughter, first of all, you decided to pay them outside of your brother, your business partnership. That's the number one worst thing to do. I told him, you can lie to your wife, you can lie to your husband, you can lie to your children, but you can lie to God, but you don't lie to your business partners. You do not lie to your business partners. And she did. She lied through omission, something people do all the time. If I don't say anything, it didn't happen. That's a lie through omission, the worst kind of lie. And now my son is sitting there looking at her like, when did this happen? Why didn't you tell me? So what I end up making her do is give all her profits, the $15, because the money still wasn't adding up, to her brother. She didn't make anything. Because the lesson learned here is that when you lie to your business partners, you're going to lose everything. You're going to lose your business. You're going to lose your business relationship. You're going to lose the trust people have for you as a business. You're going to lose your reputation. You're going to lose your community. You're going to lose your money, your ability to make money in the future because you are not being honest with your business partners. You cannot be honest with your clients, but you got to be honest with your business partners. It's a partnership. And that is the lesson of the story that I'm talking about. So, and I'm looking at my wife like, your job was to be there to make sure this doesn't happen. That's why the grandfather was there, because adults will manipulate children. But guess who also will manipulate children? Children will manipulate children. That is why, as a parent, as a business, when you're teaching your children business, you're being a parent, you need to be lockstep with them, guiding them along the way. And even when they're in their 20s, when they get out and you claim that they're an adult, what the hell did they know from the day before when they were 17, 18, living in your house that now makes them a qualified adult to operate in the world? Yeah, we know the generations before, y'all had to get out there because your parents weren't home, because your parents didn't do anything for you. I got it. But why do we need to suffer for what you suffered from? Why do we need to suffer, go out there and get out the mud? Why do we, our generation, need to keep suffering? And what ends up happening is you see wealthy people being behind their kids, investing in their kids, and making sure that they push the wealth forward. And then we still want to seem like we all going to make it because we all got to get it out the mud. No, most of us are going to fail, is what you're telling us. And it's your job to make it despite me giving you no help. Or if I give you little helps, it's bullshit crumbs. Our job as parents is to be there and raise them. Our job is never over. Never over. They're adults, yes, but they still need comfort. They still need love. They still need security. And sometimes they need help. And what the hell are you their mother and father for if you're not going to be there for them in that time? You're no different than a goddamn alligator or any other animal out there that raised a child just to let them go out to the wild to look at animals and see how that works out. Do all the animal children survive? No. That is showing you how life really is. And we take that model and we put it in there, and we're supposed to have a thriving black culture or a culture of children who are going to go get it out there. And we got to complain on why millennials are going back home to live with mom and dad. Good for them. They're the ones who can go back home and get shelter. Imagine if they couldn't. You'd have them out on the streets. Yeah, when you're dead and gone, these people have to go out and still live in this world. There's your new homeless population. So great job, parents. You brought your kids in this world only to fuck them in the end. Great job. But they got a college degree. They got a good job for now, but they're struggling. They lose their marriage, and you have the ability to help them. What the hell are you doing if your job is not to be there and guide them? And again, this is the first start, but it won't happen in this household. I'm going to leave it off there with today. I hope you have gotten an education, entertainment, and enlightenment. Hope you've been enlightened most of all, because this is serious. Now, if I don't tend to this and let this go, I tell my wife, my daughter will be lying to you at 16 and you wouldn't know the difference. Because don't forget, you might know your children, but your children know you too, because they only have known you this whole time. So they're going to know how to manipulate you, and you better believe it, they got it down pat. So I'm going to say this to you again. You need to guide your children, you need to watch your children, and you need to be physically present a lot of times with your children, especially when they're doing financial things. That's why our kids today are getting messed up with these houses. The parents are nowhere to be found when they're signing off these mortgages. That's all I have for today. I'm Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands, AncestryLands.com. Don't forget my book, Getting Dollars from Dirt, is on Amazon. The link is in the description section below. Support your boy, support yourself, support your knowledge, learn how to invest in land so that way you won't be owned as property. Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands. Take care, like, share, subscribe, and I'm out. Peace.
Have you ever wondered how some individuals amass wealth through vacant land investments? Here's your answer. We introduce the perfect solution. Getting Dollars from Dirt, a beginner's guide to vacant land investments, written by author Philip Davis Jr. and also owner of Ancestry Lands. Uncover tried and true strategies and expert advice to navigate vacant land investments, even as a novice. This book simplifies the process, offering practical steps toward financial independence. Learn to spot lucrative opportunities and boost your returns. Getting Dollars from Dirt equips you with the confidence and knowledge for wise investment decisions. Seize this incredible opportunity. Get your copy now and embark on your journey to wealth. Click the link below to order. Start building your fortune today.